A+19, fishing for spirit tools. Liu Bucheng cast a glance at Ling Han, a spark of displeasure washing over his face. A little junior actually dared to ask him questions? Did he have no respect for his seniors? But for the sake of his niece, he did not immediately fly into a rage. Instead, he simply said with a darkened expression, there were indeed a few that were successfully captured, but they were all the more heavily damaged treasures. The spirits in some of them had already deteriorated, which was why we managed to intercept them. May I take a look? Ling Han asked. Liu Bucheng could finally bear it no longer. How precious and priceless were these spiritual treasures. Even if they were horribly damaged, they were still the most valuable of treasures. The seals engraved on them possessed a very high research value because within them was engraved the martial intent of ultimate warriors of the past. Perhaps there would appear several ultimate elites of spiritual infant tier with help from the research done on these seals, which would lift the overall level of martial arts in Rain Country to another level. How could a little youngster like yourself be allowed to look at such priceless items? Ah, Pei, even he himself did not have the right to. Heng, don't daydream, he rebuked, though his words were not too harsh. For the sake of his niece, he only intended to give this young man a little warning. Seventh uncle! Liu Yutong was a bit anxious, but when she saw no hint of displeasure on Ling Han's face, she felt slightly relieved and said quickly, What's wrong with just taking a look? It won't break from just looking. Liu Bucheng almost spat out blood in his shock. Was this still that extremely talented, extraordinarily clever niece of his? Why did it seem as if there was something wrong with her head, that she actually said such strange words? What did "it won't break from just looking" mean? The Emperor also won't break from just taking a look. But was he someone you can simply meet with as you like? This was an issue about having the right to or not. I cannot make a decision on this matter. It's best we meet with the several officials in charge, he said. This was the truth. He was merely in the 9th layer of Gushing Spring tier. In the clan, he could be considered above average in terms of power, but was definitely not one of the core people of the clan, not to mention it was not just the Liu clan in this place. Why didn't you say so earlier? What are you acting so proud for if you can't make a decision? Ling Han shook his head. Damn, Liu Bucheng almost spat out blood again. This young man really remembered his grudges. He had only rebuked him a bit, and the young man had remembered his reprimand and said such harsh words to repay him. He wanted to fly into rage at that moment, but he recalled that though Ling Han was here with Liu Yutong, the token he was holding onto belonged to Wu Songlin. If he made a move, that would mean not giving face to Wu Songlin. Truth to be told, he definitely did not have this right. If the clan found out about this, he would definitely be ordered to offer a humble apology and kneel in front of Wu Songlin to wait for the latter's judgment. To pay such a price, just to vent a moment's anger, Liu Bucheng was not so foolish. He gave a humph and said nothing more. Only continuing to lead them forwards, Ling Han broke out into a smile. He would of course not lower himself to Liu Bucheng's level. He only intended to play around with him a bit. Who asked Liu Bucheng to be so blind? The four of them did not say anything else. They simply walked quickly, and very soon a tent appeared in front of their eyes. Yi, Liu 7, why have you brought some youngsters over here? When a middle-aged man saw them, a strange expression filled with incomprehension appeared on his face. This was an extremely important place. Was it a place you could just casually bring people over to? They have Grandmaster Wu Songlin's token and letter and are his fully endorsed representatives. Liu Bucheng said in irritation. What? The middle-aged man was shocked. That was Wu Songlin, a person only below the Rain Emperor in status, and someone who was on equal standing with the clan heads of the 8 great clans. Anyways, I'm going to bring them to the officers in charge first. When Liu Bucheng saw this man's astonished expression, a feeling of satisfaction rose up in his heart. He had also been so flabbergasted just now, and now that there was someone to share his utter shock, he felt inconceivably pleased. He brought Ling Han and the others to the biggest tent in the area. This tent was where all of the representatives from the various parties discussed matters, and currently There were 3 high-ranking persons here overseeing things. What? They are here to represent Grandmaster Wu? The 3 high-ranking officials were all dumbstruck. This was a place that involved high-level spiritual tools, and Wu Songlin actually sent 3 youngsters over to represent him. Not to mention that 2 of them were only in element-gathering tier. This was unbelievable to them. Yes, this is my master's token and a letter by his hand, Li Xichan said. The 3 high-ranking officers studied these 2 items. This was indeed Wu Songlin's token, and the handwriting on the letter was definitely his as well. Of course, though there was a token and a letter, because this was a very crucial matter, they would still immediately send a message to the Imperial City to confirm things with Wu Songlin. All right, then you can all stay here first. You can participate in fishing for spirit tools, one of the high-ranking individuals said. Fishing for spirit tools? Why did that sound so strange? Because there was a limited number of tents available, Ling Han occupied one of his own, but Liu Yutong and Li Xichan would have to squeeze into one. Ling Han was here on behalf of Wu Songlin, so he now had the right to know more information. There were altogether 10 different parties here. Aside from the imperial family, there were also the 8 great clans, as well as Huyang Academy. Of course, of the Huyang Academy, only the 2 headmasters had the right to take part in this, while the others did not even know something like this had happened. As for Heaven's Medicine Pavilion, they were excluded from this matter. After all, they were not a local party of Rain Country, but an organisation that spread over a considerable number of countries. If this was known to them, then probably in a short time, the various countries surrounding Rain Country would also send their own elites to snatch the spiritual tools. The crux of the matter was, where did the source of this underground river lie? And why were there so many spiritual tools that came floating out on the waters of this underground river? Could it be that it was a trove of spiritual tools? Or perhaps the abandoned site of an ancient sect? If it was the latter, then aside from spiritual tools, there could also possibly be cultivation techniques, alchemical pills, and divine medicines. Thus, this matter needed the highest level of secrecy. Why did they not go against the river's flow and enter, heading towards the source of the underground river? That's simple. They could not. Once they dived into the underground river, they would soon encounter an invisible wall, which stopped them from continuing to advance. This was discovered by several powerful warriors of spiritual ocean tier. Because the danger level was unknown, it was naturally impossible to allow martial artists of gushing spring tier or weaker to take the risk. In Rain Country, gushing spring tier was the average standard, while spiritual ocean tier were the elites. There were really too few martial artists who have managed to break through to spiritual pedestal tier. There were only such martial artists within the imperial family, the 8 great clans and Huyang Academy. As the Heaven's Medicine Pavilion was considered a foreign party, it was not included. There were pitifully few powerful warriors of spiritual pedestal tier in the various great parties. They were all in seclusion, trying to break through to flower blossom tier in order to surpass the limitations of age and become the true elite of the elites. Thus, even if there were indeed spiritual tools discovered here, the few warriors of spiritual pedestal tier were still not attracted over, unless there would appear a proof that there were also high-grade cultivation techniques, divine medicines, or something of the sort here. In that case, the powerful warriors of spiritual pedestal tier would definitely be unable to still remain calm and nonchalant. Once Ling Han understood the inner workings of the matter, he went with the 2 girls to the riverbank. They were now also able to use the fishing net to fish for spiritual tools, but it was not allowed to directly use their hands. One could do it, but one would have to go to the spot furthest downstream first. After all, once these spirit tools sensed the presence of humans, they would automatically activate and fly off. Thus, this could only be attempted as the last resort. The situation here was a bit funny. One after another, elites of gushing spring tier and above, as if they were fishermen, stretched out fishing nets, waiting for the spiritual tools to float past and enter into their nets, and trying to haul them in. "Another one's here," someone suddenly called out. From upstream, a saber floated on its way downstream.